Hi, my name is Bill, and I have a wonderful Bible story to tell you today. But before today's story, I have a question I want you to think about. Now, have you ever had a time when maybe a friend tried to get you to do something that you knew you weren't supposed to do? Like maybe a friend tried to get you to steal something, or maybe tease another child at school. Maybe they even said, if you don't do what I tell you to do, I'm not going to be your friend anymore. Has it ever happened to you? And if it has, what did you do about it? Did you obey your friend? Or did you do what was right? Today's story is a true story from the Bible about three men. These three men had a very difficult decision to make. We'll find out what they had to decide and what their decision was. Here's what the story is all about. Now, a long time ago, there were three men. Their name was Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. These three men loved God with all their heart, and they worked for a king whose name was King Nebuchadnezzar. King Nebuchadnezzar was not a friend of God, and one day this king decided he was going to make a huge golden statue, and he called all the people in his land to come on over and look at this gold statue that he had made. So everybody stopped working, and they came over to the king, and they looked at this tremendous statue, and the king said, "Every time I play special music, I want you to stop what you're doing, and I want you to come over to my statue. And I want you to bow down in front of my statue. And I want you to worship my statue." Well, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, they knew right away that this was not something God would want them to do. God wouldn't want them to worship a piece of metal, an idol. He would want them to only worship God. So, when the king played the special music, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, they just kept on working. Well, the king found out about it, and the king called them to his castle or his palace, and he said, "Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, I gave important instructions to you that every time I play music, you are to stop what you're doing, and you are to bow down to my statue. You did not stop what you were doing and bow down to my statue. Why not?" Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego said, "We didn't bow down because we're only to bow down to the one true God, our God, not to an idol, not to a piece of metal, only to our God." King Nebuchadnezzar said, "If you don't bow down to the statue the next time I play music, you are going to be thrown into a fiery furnace." Well, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego went about their work. And just like the king promised he would, he turned on that special music again. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego had a big decision to make. Do they obey God and lose their life, or do they obey the king and live? Well, it wasn't a very easy decision. What would you do in that situation? Wow, that's really a hard decision to make, isn't it? What do you think Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego did? Do you think they obeyed God? Or do you think they obeyed the king? And if it was you, what would you do? Would you obey God? Or would you bow down to the statue just to save your life? Let's hear the rest of the story and find out what Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego did. The music played, and Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego stopped what they were doing. And they thought about obeying God or obeying the king. And they decided to obey God. They kept on working. Well, the king found out about it. And the king was furious. And he called Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego over. And he said, "I gave you a second chance, and you still decided that you were going to worship God and not my statue. So I'm throwing you into a furnace." And he threw Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego into the hot, fiery furnace. Well, you might think this is the end of a very, very sad tale. But it's not. Because when King Nebuchadnezzar took a look inside of that furnace, do you know what he found? Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego were dancing. They were dancing and praising God amidst all the flames that were going on. And in addition to that, he noticed another person in there. You see, God had sent an angel to keep them safe. So no matter how hot that the king decided to make that furnace, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego was safe. Finally, the king gave up, and he turned off the fire, and he brought the people out. And he said, "Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, how is it that you did not burn up in my fiery furnace?" And Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego said, "We didn't burn up because we were protected by God, the one true God." So I don't think that your big statue would have helped us out much here. But our one true God did, because he loves us and he cares for us. Well, the king decided that that statue was not a good idea, and he took the statue down. And Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego helped the king to learn who God was. All because they decided to make the right decision. You know, God wants us to do that too. Hopefully we'll never have to decide between something as scary as what Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego had to decide. But we always have times when we need to decide whether to make the right decision or the wrong decision. God wants us always to do what's right. Even if it's hard, he'll help you. But remember, follow what God tells you to do. Make the right decision. That's what pleases him. Well, we're out of time for now, but I'll be back again with another fun story from the Bible. So I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.